Hello, my beautiful Aries friends, and welcome to your horoscope for January of 2023, where, oh my gosh, we have crossed the threshold into 2023. And I hope for so many of you Aries friends out there that coming to the end of this calendar year, right? Because it's just the end of the calendar year in terms of Western astrology. We restart our year at birthday time in Aries season. But as we come across and start a new calendar year, I hope that something in you feels and can sense how pivotal this energy is for you to be changing directions this year, that maybe there's a little bit more clarity around who you are, the work that you have to do, and a direction you would like to travel. I really want that for you as we travel throughout all of 2023, but also as we are here in January. You know, if you follow me on this channel, I'm not a big fan of the whole new year, new me kind of idea. I'm not a fan of that, especially if you're doing the same old things, then you're going to be the same old you. But I do think that 2023 January has something really delicious to offer. Not only that, your ruling planet's going to be coming out of retrograde this month. We're going to see Mercury coming out of retrograde this month. We've got a gorgeous set of moons. You know, we're going to have a full moon in your domestic zone. We're going to have a new moon happening in your friendship zone, your social zone, your long range goals, designs, desire zone. So I feel like if you flash back to July, June of 2023, all the way to January, there can be this sense that things can officially be moving forward. And I really, really want that for you. So before we get busy jumping in here, remember that if you are building a business and you are struggling, you're having a hard time, it's not as profitable as you want, you feel like your business is lacking some clarity, I can absolutely help you out with that. Click in the description box down below and join me in my business group, which runs quarterly in my Legatia Academy company. And if you are looking for more astro knowledge, which I can't wait to share with you, I've got the Astrology 101 and 102 digital classes so that you can take them at your own pace, spend some time with me, get the astro skills under your belt. Those are also available down below. And of course, my books are open for the 2023 season for one-on-one sessions as well. All right, my beautiful Aries friends, let's jump in here and talk about what's going on for you in January. Now, right as we're getting into the month on the 2nd, we've got Venus moving into the energy of Aquarius, which is just this beautiful design lighting up your 11th house space. Now, when we're talking about the 11th house, we're talking about friends, social grouping, social settings, organizations, things where social media, right? Any place we're being social, we're going to see this energy playing out. But we've also got your long range plans, goals, and designs being lit up under this energy. So maybe some plans, some long range plans you're putting in motion at this time, or you're calling into your life, are really unconventional. They're really different than what you maybe would have tried in January of 2022 or even ever in your life. Make room in your life, Aries, for life to surprise and delight you with new adventures that can bring you a level of love and freedom into your life, even financial freedom, even freedom in your relationship, where maybe you were trying to do something one way and you find out you've got to, loosen the death grip on this particular situation, and it allows your finances or it allows your relationship to move forward in a really different way. It brings you into contact with new friends or social groupings or organizations. Whatever it is, Venus is going to be calling this energy into you, and you'll experience this energy all the way until January 26th, okay? When we get to the 6th, we've got this gorgeous full moon lighting up your 4th house. We've got a full moon at 16 degrees of Cancer. So this will light up your 4th house, home, family, real estate, property, all things domestic. Now, the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, make a very big adjustment or course correction to something that is going on in your home or with your family. Now, we've also got this moon in a really nice conversation with Uranus that's in Taurus, and the North Node still being in Taurus at this time as well. So it's this idea that truly something in your home zone that's maybe been very rooted in for a long long time. You've been doing it for a long time. It's been a new plan, a new design, a new goal, a new network is presenting itself. So I wouldn't be surprised at all, Aries, if some of you say, yeah, I'm absolutely moving my house. I'm moving, I'm packing up, I'm shipping out. You know what I mean? Some of you, maybe it's a renovation or a redecoration to your home and to your space. For some of you too, I think that just a conversation of the advancement of new ideas that can take your family in a different direction will really be presenting itself, whether that is a move or maybe it's the internal movement that happens when we understand our parents or we understand our children in a different way than we did even months ago, and it can create really big shifts, and allows us to kind of pivot from where we were before and create really growth-minded changes of direction. But certainly the home zone, whatever it looks like for you, will be lit up at this time and over this next 4 weeks, okay? When we get to the 12th, we're going to see Mars, your ruling planet, coming out of retrograde in the energy of Gemini. Now, we have been working with this energy really since September. Okay, we saw Mars step into retrograde, we saw Mars step into pre-retrograde shadow time September 3rd, and this was at 8 degrees of Gemini. So right there, go back to that time in your life, September 3rd. What was going on? What themes, what lessons in Gemini in your third house? So communications, thinking, teaching, learning, buying and selling, maybe even a home, something having to do with real estate, contracts, negotiations. What was starting to come into conversation for you at that time? Then we get to October 30th and we see Mars take this retrograde at 25 degrees of Gemini. So between 8 degrees of Gemini and 25 degrees of Gemini is where we saw the Mars energy in its retrograde working to ask you to relook at your strategy, relook at your network, relook at your thinking. It has asked you to relook at your desires and the way that you're going about fulfilling those desires. How are you speaking, right? Are you coming off aggressive or are you being assertive? What's going on even in how you are conversing with other people, right? A little communication hygiene was definitely on the table. Now, as we're here on the 12th, we see Mars out of retrograde back at that 8 degrees of Gemini, and we will see the full Mars retrograde cycle, meaning out of post-retrograde shadow time, moving us fully forward in our Mars and Gemini energy on March 15th. So I want you to have it in your mind here in July. I know we've been talking about it and hammering it out, but since September of 2022 to March of 2023 has been a time of redoing, relooking at, reactioning, reconsidering with your Mars energy. So as Mars comes direct, yes, you will have the availability to do more things, to move towards what you want, maybe feel like things are even actually picking up some speed, moving in that direction. But I think you really see the launch of the next thing that you can take real solid action on and know that it is going in the right direction as we get to March 15th, okay? When we get to the 18th, we see Mercury turning direct in the energy of Capricorn. Now, Mercury's another one. We've seen the full scale of the retrograde cycle. When we back up, we look at December 12th, where we saw Mercury enter into pre-retrograde shadow time at 8 degrees of Capricorn, okay? So for you, Aries, this has been a lot of relooking at the job, at your identity in the outside of the home zone. What do you do? What is your soul level calling that you offer to the world, to your community? What's your title? Some of you got married, some of you got divorced, right? So the title that we call you in public or the reputation that comes with your name have been things that you've been relooking at. And for some of you, I do think too, that because Mercury is such a bringer of new information, that in the energy of Capricorn, it might have brought you a completely different working position or a completely different opportunity to work in a different way, and really something that can be much more successful for you as well. Whatever it is, the what I do in the world zone has definitely gotten busy. Now, we saw Mercury turn retrograde on December 29th, there at that 24 degrees of Capricorn. We see Mercury coming direct here on the 18th, back at that 8 degrees of Capricorn. And the full end of the Mercury retrograde cycle is going to be on February 7th, right there, back at that 24 degrees of Capricorn. Then we can fully make, easy decisions, knowing we have lots of clarity as we get to that February energy. On the 20th, we've got the sun entering into the energy of Aquarius, lighting up that 11th house space. Now, the sun brings light, heat, life, and motivation. We're motivated to move where the sun is at. So as we see the sun get into Aquarius, you want to take action on some of these desires, these long range plans, goals, and designs that you've had for yourself. Maybe you even feel a little bit more in flow with taking advantage or moving forward with this unconventional set of friends, unconventional grouping. Maybe you're a bit more tapped into technology around you. Sometimes when the sun comes back into this space, we can also get very curious. The sun is in an air energy, so it's very mental. Lately, I want to know these things. I'm curious about it. I'm curious about what could make my future better, what could lend me more freedom. I'm curious about my tribe or a grouping of people that can become or come into my life, and they become quite significant to help me do the work that I need to do next. So it'll be very interesting. Now, just a day later, on the 21st, we're going to have a new moon at 1 degree of Aquarius. So not only the sun comes in and is like, boom, we're motivated in this area, then we get a new moon, an opportunity for you to say, I know that something's coming, even though I don't know exactly what it is. So I want you to be wise, and I want you to be fruitful with this, Aries. Plant your seeds of intention and plant them wisely, because what you plant into your Aquarian area of your chart, for good or for ill, you're going to grow with that thing for at least a cycle, maybe longer, right? So when you are thinking about this upcoming moon, you think to yourself, do I want to deal with that particular desire I think I have for the next 4 weeks / potentially 19 years, right? Like, just depending on. So be very choosy with the people, places, and things you are allowing to influence you as you plant your seeds of intention at this new moon. But also ask yourself these gorgeous questions while we've got this moon in a wonderful connection with Jupiter that's back in Aries. So they're making this wonderful sextile energy to each other, where it's like what you want to begin, even if it's very different than anything you've ever done or anything you've ever allowed yourself to actually break out of your bonds to do, can actually be calling to you at this particular time. So I can't wait to hear what that is. Let me know in the comment section down below. Okay, now when we get to the 22nd, interestingly enough, we're going to see Uranus, one of the rulers of all of this Aquarian energy, coming out of retrograde, okay? Now, we've seen Uranus moving in its retrograde cycle from May 7th of 2022, and we'll really see it in its fullness of culmination in May of 2023, right? So it's kind of a 1-year full retrograde cycle and experience. But as we saw Uranus go retrograde, we started to go back over it very much so internally. Unless your Uranus is in retrograde, then you might have been moving more of an outward way. But one of the things we've been experiencing and looking back over, for this last 5 months, is what actually brings me freedom. What actually brings freedom to my resources, right? In Taurus energy, what actually has value to me? And maybe it's very different than the values that I have been working with for years and years. Maybe I've even, during this last 5 months, challenged what society tells me is valuable next to what I believe to be valuable and allows me to have freedom. So in your second house, we're talking about your money, Aries. How do you make money? How do you go out and use your creative talents? What is your self-worth? Is your self-worth incredibly different today than it was 5 months ago? Right? What does it look like that you have the value of freedom and innovation at your fingertips? You've been looking at that as Uranus has been retrograde. Now as Uranus comes direct, you get to live that value. Really exciting, because it can be really some significant changes to your finances as well and the way that you are interacting with them, okay? On the 26th, we're going to see Venus now entering into the energy of Pisces, moving out of that Aquarian vibration. So as Venus enters into Pisces, Aries, it's going to light up your 12th house space. This is the place that moves in between the worlds. Things can be hidden here. Something is, you're working on something behind the scenes. Maybe you're not telling a lot of people about it, right? But whatever is happening here, there's a lot of gray matter on the table, and I think that this happens to include transition. So Aries, if you are in, you're making some kind of change, or you're making some kind of transition, even spiritually, or you've got projects that are changing, or you're researching something behind the scenes, you can see that it's like there's like all this gray area that you don't have all of the answers to, and you're really kind of having to trust your intuition or peel through it, very, very slowly. And I also think that this is going to be a time, as Venus is there bringing herself, bringing her medicine into your 12th house, that you might be able to more peacefully and in more of a harmonious way make peace with some transitions that are coming. People, places, and things that you've needed to transition, let go, bring to culmination. Are you getting rid of your things? Maybe you were moving this month or preparing to move and you've needed to downsize, Aries. I think that Venus here can be really useful to help you with the transition of letting things transition. Now, other things with Venus moving into this house is, yes, it can bring a love affair back from the past. It can bring a love affair that needs to be done in secret. It can bring projects that need to be done in secret, right? Things like that can be coming to the table. So you just want to be mindful of it, that you have to be mindful of looking into this area of your chart and saying, is what I'm interacting with really what it is? Now, last thought that I have on this 12th house space with Venus here is that if you are working on something behind the scenes, or maybe you create spiritual content, or maybe you have known for decades that you are a strong healer or you're a strong seer in some way, shape, or form, you may be feeling the weight of the value, like transitioning into that in your life at this particular time. And this is a nice place to make that beginning where you're like, I have to stop pretending that I'm not a good healer, and I need to begin to step into my spiritual gifts. I need to start to, get ready to step into them and share them and help other people. So Venus is just very much so calling in the opportunity to really get in alignment with the creativity, the things that have maybe been hidden, and also the things that need to be transitioned out. All in all, I think a pretty good month coming up for you. I am interested to see where you are in your lessons and development. Not every Aries is in the same place. Cosmic results may absolutely vary depending on where you are in your lesson structure, and wherever that is at, please let me know in the comment section down below so that I can send love, I can send support. And if there are particular things that are coming up that the astrology can speak to, I want to make content, Aries, that also helps you to understand that in a deeper way so you can continue your evolution, or so that you can just understand right where you're at for the moment. Whatever it is for you, Aries, I love you. Have a gorgeous January, and I look forward to seeing you through all the transition you can see that's coming up over here as we move through 2023. Bye, beautiful friends.